Hi, it's Paula, and this is Whoever Holds the Stone. We still have the stone. We haven't really used it. It's a prop now. So metaphor. It's a metaphor. So I'm here today with Richard and with Greg, and we are going to start the show. And Tom is not feeling well, so feel better, Tom. Okay, so I first I want to talk about this is a thing that happens. I think that Barnes and Noble has made a living out of it. They get books that are in the public domain, and they republish them from their own publishing house, and they sell them, and they make profit off of them, and that they don't have to share those profits with the author or the author's family.
And I and I can testify to that because when Rick Shakovny, remember him, got a job at Prometheus Books,
Yeah.
his job was to look at things in the public domain that would be interesting enough to be published by Prometheus.
So
So-
no overhead.
What you said,
Yeah.
it happens.
How did he feel about that?
He felt like he was cheating,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, well, okay, so I'll tell the story. Greg and I were having a conversation, and I went online and I just Googled book about self-deception and how to fix it. I figured it would be helpful for us because we struggle with, self-esteem issues and so forth, and it might give some practical advice. But what I got, and I didn't realize that what I was getting, is a book that was actually written in like 1909 or something. And it's got a lot of outdated ideas about rearing children, and he does talk about Freud, so he's in that time frame, and I'm just really surprised that they're able to do this. It says now they have it under copyright. It's under copyright to them because they published it. So this guy he has this idea that people who are coddled as infants and children, and I mean, to some extent, I agree with this. They think that they're never going to not get their needs met, or they're never going to fail at anything. And, it creates a problem. But he's saying all the way back to infancy, let them cry in the crib. And I mean, I think that the medical world right now is more in line with the baby's crying and needs something. You shouldn't leave it there because it's going to feel and it's going to develop into someone whose needs aren't being met. I mean, I don't see the rationale with trying to train an infant to be self-sufficient. I mean, when they're born, they're pretty much, they would die without a parent. And so I have to really, and he also does this crazy thing, which is he talks about how in children you should strive in childhood while they're still having a relationship with fantasy. They make up their own friends and things like that. You should start telling them that's false, and to focus on only facts. And I think I don't think I would have gotten through my childhood without my imagination, and I don't think I would have gotten through my adulthood without my imagination. And I don't think that a lot of people who are artists could ever imagine being without their imagination. But he's saying in order to function in society, it's almost like to be an automaton, where you go to work and you do your job, but you don't have any thoughts and ideas of your own. You just do what is required of you, like, coming off of a assembly line. And so, I mean, he says things like, so a little boy desires to possess a pony. If this be impossible, his imagination gives him to a rocking horse, and failing that, he may tie a piece of string to a chair, and with great pleasure and much emotion urge on the fiery, untamed steed across the mountains and desert. He fulfills his wishes immediately by means of fantasy, which he spells with a PH. It's an old British book, so it's a PH spelling of fantasy, which for the time being successfully replaces reality. If the child grows up normally, this possibility of fantastic fulfillment should gradually disappear. How many adults, for instance, could take a bathtub into their dining room, sit in it, and with the aid of a vivid imagination, thoroughly enjoy a pleasant sail at sea? Now, I'm thinking, that's an adult I'd want to know. You know, somebody who pulls their bathtub into the living room and sits in it and is sailing it. I mean, that's an interesting person to me. To him, it's a Looney Tune, and I guess there's a thin line, between Looney Tune and. Anyway, I just find his perspective dry and inhuman, and I'm reading the book because I'm curious about what else he has to say, and it's a skinny book, so it's not going to take me forever, but his ideas are, I guess they're outdated. I hope they're outdated. What Montessori schools, aren't they all about encouraging creativity? Free learning and things like that. I think that we're in an age now where our creativity is honored. I hope we're not going to get out of that.
Well, I have two things to say about that. Does the name Jake LaMotta mean anything to you?
No.
How about you, Greg?
No.
He's a boxer, and he wrote a biography.
Mm-hmm.
And Martin Scorsese made a movie on the biography called Raging Bull.
Oh, okay.
So in the biography, Scorsese left off everything about his upbringing when he wrote the script for the movie. So you don't get to see any of that. But there's an interesting story in there which ties into child rearing.
Uh-huh.
He said, probably the most, the experience in my life growing up that was the most formative is when a bully took away my lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was not able to, I tried to fight him and I was no match for the bully.
Mm-hmm.
And I came home and I was crying, and my father said, "What are you crying about?" Now Jake said, "My father generally didn't have anything to do with me, but in this instance he was very interested." So I told him the story, and he started to hit me very, very hard. And as he was doing it, he said, "This is what you get for giving up and surrendering in that fight."
Wow.
He said, "If this happens again and I find out about it, I'm going to hit you even worse." He says, "You never, ever back down from a fight, no matter how much you're losing." Okay, so it's interesting that the person in the boxing world that was the biggest rival of Jake LaMotta was Sugar Ray Robinson. This was in late 40s, early 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And the public loved the rivalry between them.
Mm-hmm.
And in their last fight, Jake LaMotta felt, because he knew that he wasn't going to get knocked out, but he could tell that his opponent had landed more punches, which means that the judges,
more points.
he didn't have a chance of winning the fight. And so what he did, remarkably, is when he was getting hit, he put his hands down and he just leaned against the ropes. And even the opponent, Sugar Ray Robinson, was like, "What's going on?" He said, like, why doesn't he go down? And he kept hitting him and hitting him and hitting him. And Jake, when the bell rang, he said to Ray, "I didn't go down, Ray. Always remember that. I didn't go down."
Wow.
Like, that was his victory.
Right.
So anyway, did his father do him a favor? Because Jake said, he was of two minds. He said, on the one thing, it was the best thing anybody ever taught me, but on another mind, it was the worst.
Yeah, okay, let's go at this from another angle than professional fighter.
Yeah.
If his father would have comforted him when he came home and they would have sat down and read a book together, what's to say he wouldn't have been a scientist
Right.
or somebody that, instead of having to prove himself time after time to his father.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was a favor at all. I mean, what do you think, Greg?
I think it was a favor to him because Jake LaMotta was a monster. He was a retarded monster.
Yeah, but
Retarded
he was
socially and mentally, and he just, so it helped his father to help turn him into a boxer champ. So that was good because it was about the only thing he could do, and make the big time, be a boxing champ. He took he molded his son helped mold his son into a boxing champ.
But did he realize he was doing that when he was?
Of course. He probably did. He probably had an inkling.
Well, he probably was bullied when he was a kid. It's what it is. It doesn't. The fruit does not fall far from the tree, and his father was probably bullied and had issues, and so he as his father may have reacted the same way. And he felt that it did him some good. I don't know. I think I did learn some valuable lessons from negative parenting. Like, for instance, my mother, and I used to fake a lot, though. I'd say I'm sick because I don't want to go to school. But even when I was sick, my mother would send me to school. She'd say, I'm sick too. And she'd, push me out the door. And now I am sick right now. But as you can see, it has not held me back from coming here and doing the show. I don't give in to illness. I should rest more, probably. It would have been good to know that somebody had my best interest at heart. But in the long run, I just don't buckle under to illness. So was that a favor, or was that?
I know, it's hard to tell.
Because I probably should rest when I'm sick, but I don't. But I take pride in the fact. I'm still proving it to my mother, Mom. Mom, I'm here.
And the second thing that came to mind when you were doing your reading and you were talking about how everybody has their place is a few years ago, the great...
you don't have to stay on, Greg, if you don't want to.
I don't want to.
Okay.
So a few years ago, the great current philosopher Slavoj Žižek, he was invited to go to China. And he went to China. And, of course, he had an interpreter and everything everywhere he went. He said to the interpreter, he said, how come nobody who I talk to mentions the word communism? And the interpreter said, well, we don't use the word communism anymore. He says, you don't? He goes, no, we don't think we're a communist country. He said, well, how do you define yourself? He said, well, we use the term a country who lives in harmony. And Zizek said, well, what does that mean? He said, very simply, if you're a father, you play the role of a good father. If you're an employer, you play the role of a good employee. Everything you do is a role, and you try to be the best in that role.
Sounds like the caste system in India.
And doesn't it sound like what he was saying is that there's these categories, and then you just try to be the best in your category?
Well, I can't wait to see how he ties up this book, because so far his logic is so cold and inhuman that I'm wondering how he feels we can fix ourselves if we have this problem of self-delusion.
Yeah.
But I'm going to continue reading it. I just accidentally hit on this weird little book that probably no one else has ever ordered. I
Mm.
mean, he was pretty famous way back when.
Mhm.
You know, he was a psychologist or something,
Mm.
and he had other books, but this is just a little book for the public. He had other books for, you know, but his psychology, his ideas about reality, and you know, it doesn't leave any room for he does mention, he says, it works out great if you decide to be an actor or a writer, but in most roles in life, if you get rid of your fantasy, you're in a better place.
Mm.
It's just like, just go to work, just come home, eat your dinner, watch some well, there was no television back then.
Listen to the radio.
No, not even.
Oh yeah, that'd be more the 20s.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, this is before
you know,
that.
Read a book, go to bed. You
Yeah.
know, don't read anything really fun. Just, you know, read the Bible.
Yeah.
Go to bed. Yeah, it's a very interesting book about that I'm glad I picked up, and so you had some things on your list, and I'd mentioned two of the things on there might be good for Greg to talk about, but
Okay. Let me see what it was that you said.
and I didn't get to read the last thing you sent because I was busy getting dinner ready, and
Let's see. You did say he would probably find this one and that one. Okay, number 3 would be good to talk to Greg about. Okay, so let's go to number 3. And I'll see what that thing is. Okay. I got this idea when I was reading about LSD therapy.
mm-hmm.
And the therapist said, what's very valuable is, let's say your father died when you were an infant, and then all this time you have this longing for a father figure.
Mm-hmm.
He said, under LSD therapy, the therapist can guide you and say, oh, you're going to spend a day in a park today with your father.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that you go to the park and you lay out the blanket and everything, and you can actually develop good memories using this therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started thinking about, okay, so everybody has bad memories.
Yeah.
Is it a good idea to go back in your mind and relive the bad memory, but change the script so that this time, instead of saying X, you say Y?
Yeah.
Or instead of going this way, you go that way.
Yeah. We talked, we've talked about this. Greg has his new idea about, my life has been a perfect learning experience, which covers everything. But I mean, do you think it would be helpful for you, Greg, to go back into those bad memories and change what you remember?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you program your mind, whatever thing that you think of as bad from your past, the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to program your mind to remember it as you were in a good mood during it.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it wasn't bad. If you're in a good mood, if someone's punching you in the face, but you're in a good mood during it, and you look at it as good learning experience and a good experience in general, or specifically, then that's great. I mean, what I think now is I program my mind to operate with a cushion, and in my mind, I've been in a good mood since the womb in 1964. And I've always been in a good mood. And I've always had 100% self-esteem. And everything's always gone my way. And that creates a cushion where I feel like my life for me has been perfect. And then it's up to this second it's been perfect for 61 years, including the womb. And then I'm talking to you two, which is fun. So
Yeah.
so that's a perfect life. I mean, perfect, of course, positive, perfect, not perfectly bad, perfectly good. and now I'm talking to you two, which is, and of course the future is unwritten.
Then what do you think happens when you slide back into the bad thoughts?
What happens?
Just can't hold it up.
Well, I mean, you slide back into the bad thoughts a little bit, but I mean, it's way more cushion now, because if I remember something that I thought was painful, and in the past I might have regretted it,
Mm-hmm.
I just think, no, it didn't happen that way, or it didn't happen at all.
Well, that's basically what you were saying, Richard. That it didn't happen that way; it happened this way, and I think that could work for a lot of people.
I mean, the whole idea to me is that, from what I can tell from the people I've known in my life, one of the problems for people mentally and dealing with their existence, no matter how long they've been alive, whether they're teenagers or whether they're 80 years old, is they regret the past, their past, and say, why didn't I have this happen better? Why didn't this happen? You know, it's regrets. And regretting is so self-destructive for the mind, because you can't change anything when you regret. You can if you're truly regretting, then you're like, it was horrible and I can't do anything about it, and it's haunting me, the memory. That's what regretting basically is, generally.
Yeah.
And if you don't have any regrets, and you know, of course, you're never in the future, you're always in the present, that leaves the past with no regrets. That's zero. And the present, unless you're having a bad time, is a zero too. Zero bad stuff going on. Like right now, talking to the two of you is delightful. And even though I'm having a Parkinson's moment right now, I'm used to having Parkinson's moments because I've been having them for 5 years. And so from my point of view, by having my philosophy is to, I'm not deluding myself. I'm not saying that I was in a good mood my whole life. I'm pretending to have been in a good mood my whole life. I'm looking at it subjectively on purpose through rose-colored glasses, because you can choose to, and I proved this to myself at least, you can choose to, something you would regret, you could say, no, everything went perfectly. I mean, it went the way I wanted it to. In fact, I take it even
the way
further.
It should have gone, because.
Well, I mean, all I do is I have, like when you learn how to swim, then you can swim. So I've taught myself to swim the last 5 years since the pandemic and my own personal nightmare of apocalyptic 2021. 4 years ago, I programmed myself to swim, learned how to swim, and so if I feel negative at all about the past, I immediately have a device where I say to myself, no, it's been a perfect past for me, because I'm looking through it on purpose through rose-colored glasses, brightly lit rose-colored glasses. I mean, as long as you don't regret, as long as you're able to function in the moment, that's all there is. The future doesn't exist. The past doesn't exist anymore either, but people are haunted by it. They're haunted by something 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 minutes ago, 2 years ago. That's the human dilemma. If people did not regret, if they logically did not regret, like I've been teaching myself to not do, it totally frees the person up, in my opinion. But this is just my own personal experience. It's hard to tell someone, it's hard to say to them, just program your mind to think that you always had a good mood, you're always in a good mood, you always had everything go your way, and you've always had 100% self-esteem. Because whenever I tell people that, and I told maybe 24 people, and that's ballpark, probably like 20, 25. You know, I got a lot of acquaintances.
Yeah.
I mention this to people whenever they talk about how miserable they are mentally. I say, well, what if you took regret out of the picture? And they're saying, what do you mean take regret out of the picture? Well, I mean, what if you didn't regret anything? I won't mention the names of these women and men, but I'll just say that women and men, they say to me, what do you mean take out regret? They can't fathom. Not only can they not fathom doing it, they can't imagine who'd want to. I mean, that's what their life is. Their life is that they regret stuff, and they're holding on to it, and it's on their shoulders, and it's on their back, and it's on their mind, and it hurts them day in, day out. And I say, you know, I've learned this, that if you think logically and program yourself in the right way, you're not deluding yourself. You're just imagining the past as being perfect and great.
You know,
Then you're set, and not one person that I've talked to said, I think I'll try that system. Not one fucking person has even expressed interest in that system. They don't even think, they can't imagine without regret, what does their life come to? It loses a lot of the meaning when you don't regret.
well,
The people are wrapped up in their meaning of their lives is, why do people, people are really, they're me-centric. They're always me-centric. Even motherfucking Teresa probably is me-centric, but you know, let's just say she wasn't, but that's a rarity. People are me-centric, and they want people to do things the way they want them to do things. They want people to agree with them. Everyone wants to be, the vast majority of people want to be loved. They want to be liked. They want to be admired. They want to be desired. They want to be understood. They want to be respected. They want people to be concerned about them and their interests, to care about them and their interests. They want people to see them the way they really are, and approve of them the way they really are, and take them to their heart, and encourage them in their dreams and their aspirations, and be friendly and agreeable, and do things the way they want them to do it. And you know, it's hard to correlate between one person's feelings and other people's feelings, because everyone is so me-centric, because they're stuck. Their mind is stuck inside their body from birth till death, and therefore they're me-centric. They can't help but be me-centric. Like Bono, that motherfucker, who's fucking famous rock star. He's never had a fucking job. He just started singing in a band when he was 16, and he became really big in his 20s, and he's been famous ever since then. And he has a fucking nerve to say at the end of their concert, "Don't forget us." Like he's singing to 30,000 people, and he's saying, "Don't forget us." He's singing to millions of people all around the world. He's saying, "Don't forget us." This guy, that's just because everyone's so fucking me-centric. You have to be. That's how it is. And since you have to be me-centric, the one thing that people do over and over and over, I've seen this in fiction, I've seen this in real day-to-day life with people, I've seen it with celebrities, and their fucking memoirs, and their fucking documentaries about them, and their fucking... I guess that's it, autobiographies, biographies, and documentaries. It's always about their fucking regrets. This didn't go right. This didn't go right. This didn't go my way. This didn't go my way. Fucking bullshit. And if even the stars are like, "Oh my God, I'm being criticized by the press. I'm being criticized by the fans. Why can't everyone just see I'm 100% great? Why can't?" So since they're 100%, they want to be thought of as 100% great, and you know all the things I just talked about. They think that people should do that, but my point is you can do it yourself. You can say, "I've always been happy. I've always had everything go my way. I've always had 100% self-esteem." Can you imagine if all the people we knew, all the freaks, all the alienated and the damned that come to this house. I don't want to say fucking house. I was just I'm just in a fucking mood, but you know, who come to this house, all the alienated and the damned and the freaks, which are all the same thing pretty much. They're all freaks who are alienated and damned, including us, Paula.
Yeah, I know we
Don't
we're
think you're
included.
escaping this.
We're included in this.
Can you imagine what it would be like if these people who came over to the home of the future did not regret? If they all did not regret, if they went from 100% regret to 0% regret, like I do 90%, 85%, 80%, 75% of the fucking time now, I'm ballparking probably 75, 80%.
Well,
I mean, can you imagine what a difference it would make?
no,
It would be so staggering. It would be, in fact, you might lose some people because they'd be like, "Well, I don't know the future for. I don't regret anything."
Can I make a comment to Mr. Windsor, who was watching the show? So, Mr. Windsor, it's not really delusional. What we're doing is we're reframing the past. Like, okay, so I don't do exactly what Greg does, but I look at it as, okay, if this thing didn't happen, the trajectory, okay, if this bad thing didn't happen, this next thing wouldn't have happened, and if that next thing wouldn't have happened, then the next thing wouldn't have happened. And then I don't know who I would be. Would I be some insipid little broad that I wouldn't even want to have coffee with? I got my my strength and my wisdom the hard way by being pummeled, and I don't look at it like it was a pleasure trip like Greg is able to do. I just look at it as necessary for my development, and I don't regret any of it. I mean, once in a while I think of something I did while drunk, and I think, ooh, I shouldn't have done that. But now I have a tool, and that tool is, I read something somewhere, somebody said it. It was, think about if you were put back in time with the knowledge that you have now, would you have made this? You would not have made the same decision that you made back then. So if you developed into another person, that mistake you made is a wash because you didn't know better at the time. You made a mistake, and that mistake you wouldn't make now. So that's my big thing. And when we're doing the meditation, and there's a part in the meditation that says, think of something that is health. It is an image of health to you. I think of myself as a child before my father died. I think of that person, and I tell that kid, hang in there. Hang in there. I know it's a fantasy, but hang in there because there's something good at the end of all that bullshit. You're going to be fine. And I feel better when I do that. It's not the kind of thought that this guy would approve of, but it's very helpful. It's very helpful to tell that kid that, yes, you're going to go through a lot of shit, but I'm always going to be there. I'm right with you. I am you. And you're going to carry me all the way through that and to now when things are okay. So that's helpful to me. But I don't know, is all of this sound, what does this sound like to you? Because we have this conversation all the time.
Well, are you familiar with the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl?
No.
No, I haven't read it.
Okay, so he was a concentration camp survivor, and then he decided that he would write about it when the war was over, because he made it through, and he wanted to share with people what he learned. It's a super influential book. I mean, to this day, people are quoting from that book. He's got a line in that book. He says, I reached a point where I had to ask myself, they're taking away my self-esteem, taking away my freedom, right? Taking away my food sometimes, taking away my energy. What is there one thing that they cannot take away? Because if I can find that, I'll cling to it, and that's how I'll survive. And he found it. And you know what it was?
No.
They can't take away my attitude toward what is happening to me. He said, I'm going to hang on to that. Mm-hmm. So he has a similar thing to what Greg is saying. Greg is saying, You control your attitude toward the past. And if you want it to be one of regrets, you made the choice. If you want it to be one of, hey, this wasn't so bad, you made that choice.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty incredible considering what he went through.
Yeah.
You know, and I find that we are, I mean, if I told you how simple it was, you wouldn't believe me. That's from something. What is that from, Greg?
That's
I don't know.
That's when people asked Buddha, how hard is it to become enlightened? That's what he said.
Oh, okay. So all I can say is it's very simple, but you have to really want to reframe and to change the way you think about things. It's really a lot of people, they, like what Greg was saying, they live in those regrets. That's their definition of themselves. This didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen. They live in those regrets. Who will they be if they give them up? They can turn themselves into anything they want. They have to figure out who they are and what's important to them and go forward instead of constantly going back.
So our friend who hangs around with Vanessa went to a gig by Jupiter Trolley, because Pam is always hosting these. You know, Pam has become almost like a music promoter at this point in her life.
I know. She always is.
So when the whole thing was over, he was depressed. And he was depressed because there were all these women in their 20s who were beautiful, and they looked at him and said, whatever reason, you know, you don't matter to us. Okay. But then the next day he got a phone call because last month he saw an advertisement, come to our No Kings protest. Remember that?
Yeah.
You went to that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So he went to it and he was protesting, and all these protesters said, we never saw you here before, but boy, are we glad you're here. And he goes, what is it about me that's so special? She said, and they all said, because you're scary looking and you're scaring away the people that might want to physically attack us.
Well, that was like he was the bodyguard almost.
Exactly. So now he's coming off this thing, you know, where he went to the gig and nobody cared about him. And he's thinking about, I got a call today. They asked me to come to the Labor Day protest. He says, oh, you know, and it like lifted him up. But then look what his next thought was. Of course, they only want me there because I serve a function of scaring away bad people.
Well, but if he wasn't a good person to begin with, they wouldn't want him around because he'd be scaring them.
And I thought, there's something in your mind that wants to sabotage things.
Yeah.
See?
Because he doesn't believe good things about himself. We had a conversation online today, and I am so into this new guy that he's becoming. He's, you know, showing his sensitivity and all this stuff, and I'm so into that. I think he's great because he's very smart and charismatic, and he's got a lot going for him. And you know, I offered, as usual, I'm telling him, I said, you know, these two books helped me, maybe, because he's saying, I want to find out what it is, why I think like I think. I said, these books helped me figure out why I think like that, you know, and so maybe they'll help you. So I don't know. And I told him if he doesn't have a library card to get one, because you can listen to them free on Libby. So that'll give him something to do if he doesn't. I can't imagine. He's very smart. He must have a library card. I can't believe he wouldn't.
And that was, by the way, that was posted in the New York Times today.
Libby?
Well, there was an article.
Yeah.
And then the writer said, and I listened to the audiobook on this subject. By the way, if you have a library card, sign up for Livy. You
Yeah.
get free audiobooks. And I
Yeah.
thought, wow, he's spreading the word.
Yeah, I think it is definitely a great thing. But I feel like there's a lot of people who have been damaged in their childhood, and who through that damage or that neglect have horrible self-images. And I mean, I think that we should all be on a quest to not only mend those places, but to come out unbroken. Like to try to come out unbroken, to fix yourself, like I do with my childhood self. Telling her these things, and it helps me emotionally to think that in an alternative universe, maybe I actually could visit her and explain things to her so that she knows what to expect and how things are going to be bad for a while.
Mm.
And I mean, maybe that alternative Paula will grow up differently.
Mm.
So, it's just the meditation helps me. Greg doesn't like it. It's a chore, but he does it, and I think it helps him too. He doesn't.
Is there a ritual with the meditation? Like, do you light a candle, or?
No.
Some people do that.
No, he lies on the couch, and I go in the recliner, and we just put on this recording. It's the same one every day. It's about healing physically, emotionally, and mentally. It's a healing meditation. It's a half an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and it's helpful. It's part of a website, a YouTube channel called Mindful Movement.
Hmm.
And I've recommended it to a few people. But anyway, so you've changed your memories as much as you can. And you've even told me that driving through North Buffalo isn't as painful as it used to be. Is that still true?
Yeah, it depends on the mood.
Yeah.
It depends on whether I'm like I said, I'm probably at 75%. I'm ballparking 75-80% of having this mindset. So when I'm triggered, it's gonna plummet.
Yeah.
And so that's the answer to that question.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's kind of fun to just have your own thing when you know that no one you mention it to is gonna think that's a good idea. It's nice. At first, I thought maybe people would think it's a good idea. Well, like Tom is saying that I'm delusional. Tom, the fucking thing I said in the beginning is I'm not delusional. I know I'm doing it on purpose. I'm not pretending that. I'm not saying I've been in a good mood my whole life. I'm saying I programmed myself to pretend that I was in a good mood my whole life. I'm looking at through rose-colored glasses on purpose. I'm not delusional. Well, delusional is when you think I was actually in a good mood my whole life. That's delusional. It's not delusional to program yourself to be happy. How's that delusional?
Yeah, it's not.
That's anti-delusional.
I wanna respond to Tina Velasquez. I think that's how you pronounce it. She's saying something about the Bible. Look what other book I brought to talk about today. So you think we don't know about this book? Well, guess what? We do.
This is cool. She's making comments in Spanish.
Yeah, and she's trying to. It's a Bible study thing, I guess. I don't speak Spanish. Sorry, Tina. I know Americans. We don't really speak another language. But
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco.
I am reading.
I got an A in Spanish in first grade.
You are amazing. You see that?
That catapulted me to city honors.
Good for you.
I went flying from first to eighth grade.
I think you did.
On the Spanish. And the funny thing is I was scared of public speaking in
Yeah.
grammar school.
Well, how things change.
And don't forget, Paul, you refer to that as Bible, not Holy Bible.
Yeah, it's Bible. It's the Bible. It's the Bible because
Not holy,
it's
just
a
the.
fascinating book. And every time this is my fourth time reading it. Every time I read this book, I come up with something that we didn't learn, that they didn't have in the gospel on Sunday. That golden calf thing during the Exodus.
Yeah.
I don't remember them ever talking about how God slaughtered thousands of people for worshiping that golden calf.
He had to. He had no choice. They did it. They did wrong. It's like when he drowned everybody. It was their fault.
Well, I was reading.
He
that.
didn't want to. Probably
I'm
he just
reading
forced
that-
into it.
I was reading it and I'm thinking, what? I think they also skipped the parts, the really juicy parts of the Bible, like when Lot and his wife, whose name will remain nameless, Mrs. Lot, when they were running away from Sodom and Gomorrah, and she turned into a pillar of salt, and then the two girls got back to the cave with their father, and they're talking to each other, and they're saying, "Oh shit, this is the end of the world. There's no more people. What are we going to do?" And they talked about it, and they said, "Let's get Dad drunk and let's have sex with him so that we can become impregnated by his seed." Okay, why didn't we hear that one at church? That would have piqued my interest a little bit. Anyway, I brought it mostly to talk about that Exodus thing, but you know, I do enjoy reading the Bible. You know, there's some really boring parts, like this cube, like making the Ark of the Covenant and how big it's supposed to be and what a diva God is. You know?
Yeah.
Everything is to be perfect. Every single thing. I mean, the gold, the wood, the way the priests dress, what colors it is, what gold embroidery. This does not sound like the one I want to follow. I don't want to follow that guy. But I'm sorry, Tina. I'm sorry if I've offended you, but my God is different. All right, so do you have something on the list that you want to cover? Because still got 12 minutes left.
Yes, and it has to do with the following quote.
Okay.
With each passing minute, the past changes. Now, let me give you an example of that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The Spanish Inquisition. A lot of people think that the Spanish Inquisition was like the most horrible thing to happen during that period in the history of the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that they think that is because when Spain was conquered by Napoleon, he seized all the church records.
Mm-hmm.
And he read them, and he said, the world has to know about this, and he sent it back to Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, historians are taking a different approach. They are looking at the diaries of the people who lived during that time,
Mm-hmm.
and they're finding out some very interesting things. They're finding out that, number one, there were rules in the Spanish Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were, say, accused of reading a forbidden book or of taking a stand on some issue that they objected to, you would be arrested and you were given a choice. And the choice was, number one, you can let us torture you for 15 minutes. You will not be killed. But after the 15 minutes, we're going to let you go.
I have never heard that.
Or, if you don't want to be tortured, you can choose to do an auto da fe, which means you can publicly go in front of the town and say, I was wrong. I was wrong. And the auto da fe was an interesting thing because if you chose that method, number one, you would go back to jail until the day of the auto da fe, which was the next Friday the 13th.
Wow.
See how that tradition came about?
Yeah.
And then on that Friday the 13th, you and all the other people who agreed to do an auto da fe
Must have been an extravaganza.
would would walk from the jail through the streets to the town square.
Yeah.
And while you're walking, number one, you had to wear this pointed hat, which then became the dunce cap,
Yeah.
and you had to wear a garment. And the reason they made you wear a garment was to protect you, because as you walked, people were throwing rotten fruit at you,
Yeah.
right? Calling you all kinds of obscenities.
There wasn't a lot of entertainment back then.
So they figured you probably don't have a whole wardrobe of clothes, and if you wear this, obviously you could just take it off at the end.
Yeah.
So there was that. Okay, then you got to the auto da fe, and while everybody was still booing you, you had to say, "This is what I did. It was wrong, and I won't do it again." And then you got let go. Now, there were people who chose the torture. Why? Because they had people depending on them. They
Yeah.
couldn't wait in jail until the Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the first question was, how many days away is that,
Yeah.
right? So they would just do the torture and they would get let go. So you see how the past, in a way, is changing?
Well, I think I need a little more elucidation on why you mean the past.
It's a concept in our minds
Yeah.
that is informed by what we know.
Right, but there were people that were put to death.
No, not in the Spanish Inquisition. You're thinking of other countries.
So in the Spanish Inquisition, no one was put to death.
Correct. That was strictly forbidden because of the commandment. You shall not kill.
Well, I just read someplace that, I don't know if it was, I guess it wasn't the Spanish Inquisition, but one of those, the guy that decided that it was okay to kill the people, he became Pope at some point.
Mm.
So, I don't know.
Could have been the Italian Inquisition.
It could have. It could have. But I find it difficult to believe that nobody was killed during the Spanish Inquisition because of, like you said, our perception of what happens. So, I mean, I really...
Well, the reason I think it's true, this thing about reading from the people's diaries, do you know what happened in World War II with Franco and Hitler?
Not really, no.
Hitler said, "You're doing a great job making Spain a fascist country.
Yeah.
Now, round up the Jews and send them to me." And Franco said, "Oh, that's such a big ordeal to do that." He said, "Let me work on it." And then, of course, the next time he would talk, he would make an even longer speech ended by, "Let me work on it." So when Hitler was supposed to meet him a third time, and someone said, "So you're scheduled on this day," and Hitler said, "Cancel it." He said, "I cannot stand to talk to Franco and his, I'm going to get to that speech." See?
Yeah.
So in a way, Franco was protecting his people. They have this morality in Spain that is different from the other European countries. Like, we're Spanish, we're above all that.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? And I think that was true in the Inquisition too.
Yeah.
These other countries might kill people, but we're different than that.
Yeah, that's fascinating because that's blowing my mind is what it's doing because I can't even wrap my head around that. But I know people died during the Inquisition, but I don't know the specifics between countries. So I'm going to have to believe you until I look it up. But yeah, so I don't know. I think it was this book I'm listening to, and this is the third time I've had to borrow it because it's it's long and it's dense. The Nexus. I think you would find this book really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would really like it. It is just. I mean, some parts of it I find a little bit, where he's agitating so far to the one side that it's scary, But then he'll modulate a little bit toward the center.
Mm-hmm.
But just talking about other times and ways of communicating, and how how the communication systems were actually part and parcel of history, and how they formed history. I mean, it's a fascinating book.
If they formed history, that means they changed the past.
Well, no, they changed the trajectory going forward.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So, I can't think of any specific things.
Well, he probably gives
Oh,
examples.
he
in the
gives
book.
beautiful examples. Yeah,
Wow.
and I unfortunately my sib-like memory is not good with hearing as well as it is with reading.
Sure.
So I usually, when that happens, is I get a hard copy of the book and then I start marking it all up. But I don't know if I'm going to go through that with this one. There's like too many books on my list.
Mm.
But Greg brought his Bible too. If he wants to talk about it.
Forget about the real Bible. This is the Bible to read, Divinity of Doubt by Vincent Bugliosi, which is the agnostic's Bible. It's all about how agnosticism makes a lot of sense. If you use the definition that some people use for agnostic, is that you're not sure whether there's a God or not a God.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the definition everyone uses, but the definition he uses, and the definition a lot of people I've met use and I use, is that you're not a believer that God exists, and you're not an unbeliever where you're an atheist. You're in the middle, like it could be true, but I don't have knowledge of it. So I'm just saying I don't know. Like Bill Maher uses agnostic that way, and I use it that way, and Vincent Bugliosi uses it that way. And it's, to me, ever since I thought that my mother and Joe Beck were full of shit, saying it's 100% true that there's no God. How could there possibly be a fucking God? There's no proof of that. There's no definitely not. The whole idea that you definitely know there's no God when we're spinning around a globe in outer space and this planet with people and animals and trees and wildlife. It's there could be a God. It's possible. The idea that there's no chance there's a God is ridiculous. There's a chance because we don't know everything. Anyone who says they know everything is full of shit. I know everything in the universe. What? I mean, no one knows everything in the fucking universe. No one knows everything about fucking Earth. You can't know everything about Earth.
No, we don't know.
No human being has knowledge of everything on Earth. And it's impossible for a human being to know everything on Earth. So how can they say there's definitely no God? So obviously saying there's definitely a God is stupid. It's ridiculous. There's definitely a God. 100%. Anyone who says that, it's full of shit because, I mean, especially I know because I've taught 10, 20 fucking these religious fanatics who say that there's definitely a God. And when you get them talking about it, they say, well, I have a little bit of a doubt. Well, you have a little bit of a doubt, then you have a doubt. I mean, there's the whole idea that there's definitely a God. There's no doubt about it. There's definitely a God. And of course, usually the God, unfortunately, is usually that I hear about is it's the Holy Trinity. What's the Holy Spirit? I don't know. Why is it three into one? Which way did he go? God definitely existing is so stupid. If you think he definitely exists, this fucking spirit in the sky definitely exists, that's ridiculous. That's stupid. If you think there's definitely no chance that God, that there's no chance of there being God, you're an atheist, that's ridiculous. There's a chance that there's a God. And there's definitely a chance that there's no God. Because, of course, who's kidding who? There's practically, certainly there's no God. So, agnostic is the only logical thing. If you look at agnosticism as being, I don't know which way, and it's people are just the majority of people are, I believe in God exists, and then a smaller minority is, I don't believe God ever existed or will exist, and I'm an atheist. And this is the agnostic's Bible, Divinity of Doubt.
He reads this book. I mean, I don't know how many times you've read this book. Like
Twice.
twice.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know, dozens of times. It's my
Dozens.
Bible.
Dozens of times. He sits there. He does that with movies too. Well, he watches them over and over again.
Mm.
So you seem to have perked up a little bit. Okay.
Say your
Goodbye,
goodbye.
everybody.